Hello again. Hello. Where are you? That was not hello. We're back.
We've made a lot of progress today. Really going through.
No, let's just say the structure of everything. It's a lot more structured than when we started Tempest. Rather, I should say when Janet started Tempest.
As opposed to FICON, which was 100% not structured at all.
No, that was whatever we wanted to read at the moment.
Which is why it's 430,000 hours.
But that was also really good because we explored so much more.
Yeah, that's true. And it gave us a lot of what we're working off of now. Mm-hmm. But we do want to focus on writing original-like structures at this point.
Yes. And this is a perfect starting a way to get our feet wet, if you will, to figure out what we're going to do and make sure we know what we're doing a little bit better. Because fan fiction is much more whimsical at your whim, whatever you want to go with.
And on that note, there are a few things that we would love to include that are tangents that probably won't make the cut. That does not mean that there won't be opportunities to cover them separately, because we do write fanfic. So that may still happen. It will still happen.
I'm going to be writing fanfic forever. Yeah. We're going to be sitting next to each other.
Great. We have to talk about
I don't care if that was
somebody
real or not. That
I don't
was
care
great.
if it was either.
I stared at it forever.
I'm never getting up close and personal. It's as close as I'm getting. Leave it that
care.
way in my imagination. My imagination.
I'm picturing it right now.
Great. It's like Fassbender level. It's great. Kind of the antithesis. Well, we'll talk about him later. I'm not impressed. Anyhow. Yeah, so Providence right now, with having it outlined, which is new for me, to have it this in detail, we're looking at probably in the range of 150,000.
Yes.
Thinking,
in theory.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're definitely going to aim for that this time, like an actual goal.
Yeah, and I do think it's going to take some time to get written. So we're probably looking at starting posting on the first of the year, or the first Monday of the year. Keep up that tradition. And have it completely done before we start posting. I think that benefited a lot.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There will be, I'm going to say, somewhere between probably 12 and 15 one-shots in between Tempest and Providence. So you've got...
There's a huge time.
Yeah. We're going to have 3 to 4 months worth of content. And there will be breaks, probably about 6 weeks in between Tempest and the one-shots, and then between the one-shots and Providence, just to make everything work out and space it out a little bit. I don't want to leave people hanging for 3 months. I feel like that's a bit much. But we do need that slight break, especially with me moving again.
Which, I mean, if it works out with what we're going to try, that could be really beneficial.
Okay.
But I'm jumping ahead.
So current plan is we are fully co-writing original works, and I am focusing on that on weekdays full time, and on weekends writing Providence. I am guessing I will get anywhere between 6,000 to 8,000 done in a weekend on average.
She's a machine. What was that face? That's true.
I'm drafting, she's editing, just like we did with Tempest, and generously editing. I mean, you're really second draft writer.
Yeah,
I would say.
I don't think, but you really do spearhead it.
Yeah, and Will and Amelia are my baby more than hers. So
100%. That
she's
one
excited.
Shot that came up with it was all Janice. She just suddenly there were 3 new characters. They were all females, and she made that one paragraph that said, "If you had actually talked to her or paid attention, all this stuff could have been different." And look at where we are.
I have a problem.
It's all Janice.
It's a beautiful problem, but it's a problem.
It's a problem, but it's a great problem. It opens a lot of doors.
And it's useful to us with writing original works too.
It is, yeah.
Because I do tend to go, but what about this person's entire life?
Oh my God. If we actually did like the medical aspect of that, there's an entire hospital, and suddenly we would have like
that's way further down the road.
Employee log everywhere.
Shoot.
No.
Nothing.
You want to talk about that right now?
Hold on, do you?
Could.
What?
The first one?
Yeah.
We should. You want to? Just to like
barely.
Barely. I don't want to.
We're in our own language.
Original work. Right now, we are playing with the loyalty idea.
With the caveat, it's not It's not modern day and it's not historical. This is a completely
It's a different
separate.
universe, if
Yeah.
you will. It's nothing steadfast in like it's not going to be 1653 or it's not going to be super modern.
No.
Right
There
now.
are romance writers who do phenomenal work placing something in a specific time. They have a background and a knowledge that we don't have. We don't want to fake it. And at this point, I'm not willing to put in the work
No.
to really earn it.
It would be a detriment to the story if we went down that road.
Yeah.
It wouldn't help anything, and it would actually be more stressful for me because I really like the detail.
Yeah. And when we were talking about it, we were like, well, what about not on any other level, but what about like a Game of Thrones-esque kind of world where it is a parallel sort of idea? It's very near Earth, it's very near historical without the constraints of this war was happening between these two countries during that
Yeah.
time because the Duke's
It's a
mistress
different
killed
universe.
the
It's-
cardinal. I don't
We're
know.
making our own, but it's not. There's no fantasy. There's nothing.
Yeah, there's no
We're
dragons.
not going supernaturally.
No.
Paranormal, fantasy,
Nothing like that. A lot of intrigue, I think. What of intrigue we're talking?
Oh yeah, it's gonna span
Overarching
a long
multi-generational
time.
storyline because we love that. And really our plan right now is less of a converting fanfic to original work and more we've created these archetypes in these characters or purpose these archetypes and they're well known
They
realism,
are.
but not unique.
And they translate very well depending on the setting,
Yes.
which is the entire point. So we talk about different settings because there's so many ways we could integrate these characters into these settings and they fit really well and we can mold them while still maintaining their integrity.
So the character integrity, the relationship dynamics, those are the important things and those are the same. And I don't just mean romantic relationships. I'm talking about family, friendship.
And the nice thing about different universes is it's different for each universe in its own way.
Because
Which
we're
is why it's
creating
gonna be a lot of
different
fun.
external factors
Yeah.
too. So there is, I'm excited about that. We talked a lot more about Providence than that at this point. We have possible plans for a very lengthy conversation.
Possible
About-
plans. I almost just said bank on
Okay, I want to bank on it.
I
but
want
I'm
to
not,
bank.
like
I know.
planning
Don't let me wait till tomorrow and actually
financially
talk to
yet.
people.
Yes.
Yeah.
We may fill you in on that by Wednesday, I hope. Hopefully.
Yeah. I think I'll see.
We'll tell you more later. Yeah, so we've talked a lot more about Providence, but I'm really excited about both storylines we're doing, just even for the little bit we talked about the original stuff.
Mhm.
But it is repurposing those ideas of their characters and not the storylines of Tempest Providence, whatever we call the third one.
I haven't never even thought about Tyler. No, for that one. Oh my god. Because that would be
I have ideas.
I feel
We'll
like
talk later. I have ideas. Whoop! I just locked the computer. Anyhow,
I was
it's
worried
fine.
about your wine.
my wine. Yeah. We do want to talk a little bit about our plans for Providence. I think we should probably get to our asks first, and we have a few, so we'll probably save the Providence talk for the next video because we don't want to go over an hour. I mean, you guys, I don't understand how you watch these as long as you do, but kudos.
I feel like it's mostly me just
I
we're
rewatch
just
them.
talking. Yeah, but that's because
We're also adorable,
of course
and we're funny. We're sober, but we're drinking wine. Anyhow,
hopefully.
Um,
we've got a great one. I don't know if it's I'd say great wine.
great label,
Great label. Great name. Great name.
not a great wine.
It doesn't smell that great.
I'm hoping it breathes a little. We just uncorked it. But right now we're drinking the rosé, which is really pretty decent
For its price.
for the price point. It's really it's not too sweet, thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have a fair number of anons. You guys have rolled in with more since we said, hey, this is great. You can send more. And you can.
so
You
much.
can-
You're just like it's amazing.
Yeah. Some of them I don't have answers to, but you can always ask. This one, just going in order. At what one point on writing, posting FICON did you realize what a big hit you had on hand and that you'd be writing several more stories in the universe? There's more than one answer to that.
At what point in FICON?
Because they're different questions.
They are. I mean, I always start that at the beginning. We thought nobody was going to read these stories at all.
Yeah.
FICON, it's about a time traveling toddler. First of all, any kid fic is usually off limits, and you add
And I
time
had
travel in
just
there.
been slammed by some highly critical reviews for including Oliver's kid in the story. a couple months before, it was the first several comments I got were very harsh and basically saying, I'm not going to read anything that has one of his kids. I'll come back when you write something that I'm interested in. That was a gut punch, but we got past it, and I kept writing that story anyhow.
It's a
For
great
quite some
story.
time.
You really did. Yeah. It's an amazing story. I got preference.
I like writing kids sometimes.
Even if people didn't like it, you just hit the X in the corner. So easy.
Especially if you didn't pay for it. So we're talking about this earlier today. I feel like with fanfic is written for the writer who's writing it, and it's wonderful that it's appreciated by readers, but it's not written for you. It's shared with you.
Yeah.
In most cases, there are a couple of exceptions where there is literally a gift fic, like we've been doing for the Remember Sarah Diggle Drive winners.
But at
And
the
then you
same
really
time,
want
there's
it
the
to be-
core. We actually love these characters. We want to write them
Yeah.
just as much as you guys like to read them. And same thing with other fic writers. I want to read everything other people write just because I love these characters so much.
Yeah.
So it's a symbiotic. It's fan fiction's unique compared to published work.
And in published work, there are sets of expectations you are meant to hit, and there are
And that's going to
beats
be
and points and constraints that need to be fit as far as length and pace and tangents, and you owe more to your reader than you do as a fanfic writer.
I feel like the audience is more broad that you're aiming for.
Mhm.
So it changes how things are structured and written all together. So it'll be an interesting month. I'm sure we go through that.
It will. But yeah, so we didn't expect with FICON, we didn't expect much of a response.
No, we
And
wrote
then
this
it
just for fun. We're
Yeah.
like, hey, I remember you're just like, hey, you want to do this? I'm like, oh, sure. Because I thought it was going to
Yeah.
be a quick, like, yeah, this will be fun to try. Look at us
It's not.
now. Suddenly kept adding more chapters and it
Yeah.
blew up. I don't know if there was a point writing it. I mean, the reaction to the first chapter, I remember you wanted to
We
post
had
the second
several
chapter right
hundred
away.
comments right off the bat. I'd never seen anything like it.
No.
I mean, if you look
It
at the
was
average
amazing.
comments per fic, you're looking at average is what, 2 to 3?
Especially for
I
a brand
think.
new one. I mean, it depends.
I mean, on AO3 overall, I think the average number of
Oh.
comments per fic is 2 to 3.
Yeah.
We both have written a lot before, and we have some loyal readers who stick with us, so we knew to expect more than that, especially being done for a big bang, because
Mhm.
that's different too.
We honestly did fashion it to be like 10 chapters. Ish. Okay, you know what? There's it grew on us, but I think a lot of it was a response to it too. That
There was-
fueled so much of
Could have been truncated with that first big showdown,
it. Could have, yeah.
and I think that was
That was the
original
goal
thought.
when we actually started first talking
Yeah.
about it. Was just to get to that point.
But there was always a we'll see what happens when we get there mentality, especially for me because I do that.
That's how she does it.
It is how
I'm
it
very much more like, oh, we want this part. Okay, we're gonna get there. Then Janice
is.
is
We're not
writing
doing that
stuff.
right now.
And no, we're not. But
We're
I've
stuff
learned so
50
much. I've
years
changed
later.
so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
As far as when we knew we'd be writing more stories in the universe, I really think it was when we settled on who Jules was going to be as a person.
How it differed from, if you want to call it canon, because if you think about it, I guess the original Ellie could be in canon, and then we also changed it when Ellie traveled back in time, and then the timelines diverged. They split up, and so many things are different because of Jules. That was the moment where it's like, oh, this could actually really be something.
At first, Jules was going to be a boy. We were either going to call her RJ or TJ, or Tommy John or Robert John, and he just never had. We were like, well, what's this kid like? And I'm trying to work him out, and he went nowhere. And as soon as we said, well, what if it was a girl instead? I said, then Ellie has this older sister. What does it look like being the older sister who only exists because your little sister came through time and changed the universe?
Which is just, pardon my language, a mind fuck.
It's a fantastic problem that there's really no resource to tap because it's not possible. So you look at the most similar things you can as far as sibling issues and feeling unwanted, which was always a part of Jules Earned or Not early on. And there was a lot to do with that. And the more we talked about it, the more she became a person. And
But on top of that, it's also how everybody else changed as a result of Jules being born first. Because everything has changed. The entire verse is different just because of that simple thing,
Yeah.
which is fantastic.
And well, there's other elements too. Malcolm's gone,
Yeah.
and Thea lived her life very differently.
So did Laurel.
So did Laurel.
Everybody has a totally different path,
Yeah.
which is all completely based on this one moment when Barry brought Ellie back from the future.
Yeah.
And suddenly there's a whole new universe just because of that simple choice, which I also really love. Such a wild, different choice changes it. It just branches off into a totally different universe.
And then
Super fringe.
when we were going to do more, originally we were just going to jump into the sequels. There
Yeah.
wasn't going to be much in the way of one shots. I think
No, that kind of
that came about
Brie didn't.
because Brie wasn't ready to work on the sequels, and at that point
Mhm.
was going to be fully involved in all of them, and she wanted to go work on Blood Hands.
Mhm.
So I said, all right, well, I'll stall. There's plenty of connecting stories to tell because at that point, the main first sequel was going to be about Jules losing her boyfriend, having it sort of at that point was going to be her fault, having to do with compartmentalizing her life, and becoming Tempest and going into kind of a rage over it and being a little overboard, and Oliver and Felicity really stepping up and proving their commitment to her and proving her wrong from her childhood years on how she felt like an extraneous part of the family.
Really showing her just all the stuff that she's always felt and interpreted in her own way, that it's not how she's always seen it.
Yeah.
Her reality isn't how she crafted it in her own way. She really did.
Well, I mean, it was real to her at the same
It
time,
was.
but there
I mean,
wasn't
it's the
nearly
same
as much
concept
basis
as-
for it as she felt.
No, there's not at all. That
Um,
was her own creation.
Yeah. Now that said, all of that
I don't
obviously
blame
changed
her.
some when you look at Tempest. And when you look at the last couple chapters of Tempest, when you get there, I think you'll still see parts of the original intent in that, even though it's nowhere near the same. But we've already seen Oliver and Felicity earn a greater level of understanding from her and a better relationship with her. So I think they've all put in some work there that wouldn't have happened otherwise. But that's how the sequels came about.
Which is awesome because you want to conceptualize something, but if you follow more of an organic path and you kind
Mhm.
of take what the triggers, that's part of why Pieces has been so important though, because it set off so many different ideas that you can't really come up with unless you're actually writing something out and following
Yeah.
those paths.
I feel like Pieces of Always makes me think of, you know how JKR always talks about the many, many binders of stories she has of backstories for Harry Potter. Not that I'm JKR by any means, but at the same time, having that fully fleshed out backstory shows you where to go.
Mhm.
Even if you don't directly reference it. I know all kinds of stuff about Carlos and Matt and Maggie and Celeste and
But it's such
Javi and
important stuff.
Elliot.
It's everything
and-
that defines. It's the context that nobody. You don't need to actually read it to know what's going on, but it fleshes out characters.
Yeah.
When you're actually writing about them.
It gives you a continuity as a writer that you
Yeah.
don't get otherwise because you have the same reference points in your head, even if they aren't shared with the readers. And I think that makes a tremendous difference.
Well, it doesn't
and that's
have
what
to be shared with
Pieces
the
does.
readers. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's all there. And
Yeah.
somebody you can put it together, but it's not necessarily explicitly told or told.
That's
or,
where headcanons come from. A lot of times I think they're just the author's headcanons.
Yes.
And you don't know that, but that's, that's where they are. Anyhow, sorry, just weird people outside. Next question. I love the prom flashback, and I can't wait for Amelia and Bethany's interactions. Will they meet again in Providence, and will we get to see how their relationship grows in one shots? Yes and yes.
Yes.
Bethany will be in at least 2 scenes in Providence,
Probably.
potentially more.
She plays a very pivotal role without necessarily being present.
She's not in a whole lot of it.
She's still pretty young in
She's
Providence.
10.
Yeah. So it's not like she's going to have an active role in a lot of stuff
Right.
that's going on, but what she represents in a lot of ways
To
is
Will,
very important.
especially.
It's incredibly
Yeah.
important. And how that plays out with Amelia.
And their relationship in one shots and probably in the third sequel. We haven't fleshed that out yet, although we've talked a little bit about how Providence affects it and where we want to go with it. There are some really delicious things we're trying.
There's so much good stuff.
There's a lot of that's going to be a
So
long
much.
one because there's so many major characters in it.
It's definitely more of an. I mean, it has a focus, but it involves it's more ensemble. Whereas Providence is very much focused on Will and Amelia.
I would say that Tempest is
Same thing
focused
with
on
Tempest.
Jules in a way that isn't
Yeah.
even couple oriented with her and Alex, because it really is Jules' journey to where Alex is, as opposed to Will and Amelia's journeys towards their best versions of themselves and towards cohesion as a couple and really functionality.
Which is really interesting to think about because without that original sequel that we were talking about, she had to go through a lot of that stuff. We had to show a lot of stuff. Plus, with Will and Amelia, we have so much history already.
There's a lot of history.
We are learning a lot as we go through this process.
That's what fanfic's for,
It's
at least in part.
fantastic.
Yeah.
No, but it's
It
very
is.
much. This was always this was going to be like the romance novel esque story
Yeah.
for reals. It was always going to be
Yes.
about Will and Amelia and their journey together, but also separately and how that plays into each other because it's all so interwoven, much more than even. I mean, there's more.
I feel like the external plot, the B plot, as you will, is better conceived going into it than it was with Tempest.
I also think it's because it's more tied to what happens between them two,
Yeah.
way more than Tempest.
Yeah.
Tempest was very Jules oriented, which it should have been. We did skip a lot,
Yeah, I agree.
but we also.
But there will also definitely be some one shots with Amelia and Beth. Their relationship is one I really like. I feel like in some ways it has the potential to be a parallel to Will and Felicity because they're very much a sort of mother figure by designation.
Well, they choose each other.
And I think they choose each other.
I mean, there's circumstances, but it's just like Will and Felicity. That could in FICON and in canon if you want to go there because they really did. They choose to lean on each other and to view each other as that mother-son relationship. And same thing, mother-daughter with Will or Amelia and Ted.
Yeah. And that's not to the exclusion of Samantha in either
No.
case,
God,
actually.
no.
Poor Samantha. God.
I know.
Anyhow.
She
She did. I'm
really
so sorry.
did.
It was real mean of me.
But it's really good for what happens, though. Sorry, Samantha.
Just ask. Which Vicon character do you think Bree most resembles? Resembles? I don't think you mean physically. We're talking personality here, I hope. Maybe. And which one does Bree think you're most like? Both of your ideal writing environments.
Question still. Okay, so she gave me this question beforehand, and I told
So
her I
you need to think about
literally
this
just
one.
stared at the wall, thinking, "Huh."
Not an easy
I was at
one.
work just staring, like, oh, okay. Even now.
I would say you're most like Will.
Thank you.
Because I think there's a very lighthearted, fun aspect to you that carries through in all your relationships with people, and that you tend to put other people's wants above your own.
That's so true. It's not healthy at all. My gut reaction is Jules for you. Yeah, it is. When she was writing Tempest, that is not why. She can be a bit bitchy though, but it's a good. No, just as far as your focus.
That's fair.
That's really it. It's really because it's kind of hard though when we talk about
Yeah, I know what else
anybody
you want to
else, right? So I would say Jules.
Well, and I think that works well because you guys know them best at this point.
There you go. There's so much because there is, but my lips have gotten very loose all of a sudden.
You've been real bad this trip.
That's considering how much I yell at you about spoilers.
You didn't say it this time, so we're good.
I'm good this time. I'm aware of it.
Okay. Ideal writing environment. I want a beach house.
She's actually been looking at beach
I did. I don't have money for a beach house. I'm looking anyhow.
house. Does anybody have money for a beach house?
Maybe. Not me. Somebody
I
must.
certainly
I
don't.
want like a deck that's like over the ocean, a heated one in Oregon, not out here. With like a heat lamp. I can listen to the waves and just write. But like honestly, I'm super picky with writing environment. I need the right kind of chair, or I'm gonna screw everything up. I need music. I need my lighting correct. I need coffee. Um, can't be too cold. I'm super obnoxiously picky, and it's going to be a real problem because my coffee shop in Portland closed
Yeah.
and became a pot
I was just
dispensary.
gonna say.
I can't
The
write
writing
there.
place.
That's not going to help me. I need to find a new one or figure out how to write at home from my gorgeous writing chair that you guys bought me with Kokai funds. Thank you.
It is beautiful. and
It's so
comfortable.
comfy.
Although
My cat
every
agrees.
time I look over there, it's Rainbow who's actually enjoying the sea right this very second.
My evil cat.
Like for me, for a writing environment, it's all about my state of mind. I can actually write anywhere as long as I can actually get into the zone.
You like wrote on the airplane.
I know, and it's hard, but I have to be in the right moment.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to. I have a really big problem with control, so which is part of why.
Okay, Nate.
But not like that.
Not like that.
No, it's letting go of perfection. There's always something that could be better, and so I'm trying to understand how to balance that, which is getting easier. So I'm trying to, like, right now I was reading Little Nate Penny out there while your children were running around, which was
I
quite a
know.
task.
My daughter's like leaning over
Like,
your
so I'm
shoulder.
like switching windows
You
really
can
fast.
wait. Stop it. It was just fine when you were 2.
You can understand these words. So please go.
Mommy, what does that word
But she
mean?
gives the best hugs. She's so sweet.
She's like all over Brie.
She's a cuddler.
She does.
I love her. So it's more state of mind for me. I don't have to have like a specific environment. If I can get into the zone, I can write anywhere. But it does help to have coffee
Uh-oh.
and music.
We haven't gotten him to change yet. It's been the same outfit for like 36 hours. But at least we put on a shirt.
There you go.
Mindset, but environment goes to mindset for me. I have different Pandora stations I'll listen to for different content or
Yeah, see, like, because I have a soundtrack for Blood Hands, but the thing is, it's mostly just like there's a lot of Metallica on there, a lot of songs I've heard a million times. If I hear a new song, I will get distracted. It's bad. So I can't listen to the radio while I'm writing because I'll get distracted by the lyrics. So as long as it's something I've heard a million times that I don't attach anything strictly to,
Mhm.
unless like Blood Hands is specific, because there's some songs in there, but
yeah,
songs I've heard a bajillion times, I can actually do that.
yeah.
I do have a white noise app, which helps me a lot.
I'd fall asleep with white noise.
Oh, I
It's
love
like the
white
only thing
noise.
that puts me to
Especially
sleep.
if I'm super distracted, I might have a little bit of ADD. I have something. If my mind is in the wrong spot or like a wrong place, white noise helps me get into it. It
Mhm.
just cancels everything out of my head. I don't know if I can say this way, but I have a lot of voices in my head.
All writers have a lot of voices in their head.
And they just don't shut them. So I'm trying to shut them up this right now. What you can think about it, I guess, like screaming metal. It's not metal though.
It's sort of noise.
It's noise. It's noise.
What reaction to which character storyline plot from the audience surprised you the most, whether it was positive or negative? There's a few.
The first one came out was like,
A lot of people love that one. The love for Amelia right at the bat, like
That
wanting to
didn't
know more
surprise me.
about
That
her. I was
surprised
stunned.
you?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Oh my gosh, she fleshed you. Oh, no.
That's
It
the
was that
positive.
one paragraph. I remember that paragraph when she insinuated that if Will had just turned his attentions over to
It
her
was
for
meant to be
5
the
seconds,
point of her
It-
originally.
would have just. No, that would be.
I didn't see it coming. I also really didn't see some of the negative reactions to Jules, or more specifically to Felicity as a parent. Not even Oliver and Felicity. It was always very specific to failings that were perceived on Felicity's abilities as a mother.
Which I think had a lot to do with which stories were written and posted.
I took it very personally.
Because there's a lot of stuff.
I write from experience, and I took it personally.
There's a lot of
Not gonna
stuff she
lie.
does go through, which is very relevant and real. And without the full context of the story as it exists, like in our heads and some other people,
Yeah.
it probably came out of nowhere. I guess I can understand. I can see it.
I think it speaks more to unrealistic expectations of women
Yeah,
as
that's true.
parents.
This is
I think
very
that's
true.
incredibly common. I think mom shaming is very
And
common.
especially for people who aren't parents, you have this idealistic
Yeah.
view of it.
Or for people who feel like they should be upholding to a certain standard of
Yeah.
parents and don't want to admit to themselves or anyone else that they're not where they think they're meant to be because there's a perfect picture in their head. I have a lot of thoughts on that I probably shouldn't get too deeply into. But
But it's relevant, which is what
It
makes it
is.
so important.
it's I found it very telling that nobody commented on Oliver's abilities as a parent and a lot on Felicity's, and that there was an expectation that they not just be perfect, but that any misunderstanding between them and Jules was automatically their fault.
Yeah.
That bothered me. But oh well, we're
But
past it.
it makes sense. But it's good to highlight it.
Anyhow, next part of this question: did reader reaction ever spur you to change the direction of Psychon plot or its sequels? Yeah, many times. Amelia became a character because of reader feedback. There were plenty of clarifying one shots to kind of head off
Not even one shot.
different things. Yeah.
I mean, a perfect example is somebody, one anon we got, like, oh yeah, we should definitely do that. And it played in the province just today.
Like today, yeah, somebody goes,
Mhm.
a long time ago, you said Allison, Will was going to run into Allison. Is that still going to happen with all the changes? And I was like, oh, that fits super well into Act
It
2.
does. It really does.
Let's do that there. So
See-
yeah, you guys influence a lot.
It really does. There's stuff that we don't see. It's wonderful having two people writing something than having betas and people who help read stuff. But different perspectives always add different things.
You just read right into the next question. How important is audience feedback to you and Bree in general? Yeah.
It's more reaction, seeing what you guys are focusing on and what you guys really follow.
I think sometimes it's an almost symbiotic relationship because most of what we're doing, we wouldn't put it out there without you guys. Why would we? I mean, we might still daydream it, but would we put in the hours to actually write it and create all this? No, not without some kind of value assigned. Yeah, like we need to know that somebody cares. Otherwise, why? And
which is why kudo, comments, reblogs, retweets, likes, everything, every single one impacts. I can't even describe it.
There are times everybody doubts themselves, and Brie and I are no different on that a lot.
I was literally just, it's bad, yeah.
There
Everybody
have been times where I turned off all comments on fanfiction.net a while ago because they're at best meaningless and at worst vicious. I've had some feedback that was incredibly mean spirited from people, and that's happened on every single story I've written except for Tempest. Actually, thank you. And there's a lot of value from, there are a couple of readers who leave incredibly long, detailed reviews. That's phenomenal. Sometimes all you need is a comment or a direct message or whatever, just saying, oh my God, I just wanted you to know how much I love this. There was one time that set me off sobbing because I'd had a really bad day and I wasn't feeling it. I just needed that.
There aren't words for the feeling that it gives. Even just saying, you are such a great writer. We really enjoy this.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, because we put so much into our writing, whether it's individual, together, anything, because it's a creation that we're putting our heart and soul into. And I wish there was a word to describe it, but there's not. Like, I wish I could bottle that feeling and I would just live in it forever.
You want it to be loved. There's very little chance that almost anyone will ever care about it as much as you do as a creator.
Yeah.
I think that's almost always true. We've been really lucky as there are some people who I interact with daily, and some of you are probably watching this, who care very nearly as much as I do, who help me brainstorm sometimes or go off on tangents and send me pictures, and it's wonderful. Um, so, I mean, it means a lot, not even just in terms of the story, but in terms of friendships we forged and the communities we've built, the things that people have made, fan art, fanfic, poetry, collages, the family tree, all kinds of things. Photo minutes.
Like, I keep all of that stuff, every
Mhm.
single thing. A lot of it's printed out and stuff.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I have a gorgeous card that one reader mailed me that they handmade a pop-up card with the characters and quotes. Two different Ellie the elephants. It
It, it just, it's fantastic. I wish there was a word to describe it. Yeah.
Same Manon also said they love Vicon and Ellie especially and are pumped for our original work. I'm really glad you love Ellie. There's some big things coming up for her, not so much in Providence, but in the one after. We have not done a ton with her since Vicon, and that is going to change. We've been building up quietly to some things with her. You will discover more about her, and she's going to discover more about herself.
Yeah.
There are some hints coming up that
It is.
I'm curious what people will say.
It's something that wouldn't have happened if the original Ellie had never. I mean, everything's tied together, and it's a beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for not saying that.
I didn't say anything.
I know. Next. God, this is already okay. Are you ever going to do Oliver and Felicity getting married? Besides obviously just wanting to read it, I was rereading some old chapters, and one of them mentioned that there was a scuffle at the wedding and that everyone tried to keep it from Oliver and Felicity. I'm really curious about it. I am too. That's really as much as I had. Just a general funny idea of some kind of
something happening,
and
everyone the team's trying to keep it away because it's their special day, and they don't want to detract because everything that they've gone through to get to this point,
and they can handle it. We can handle this. I haven't thought about it past that, and I kind of doubt it's going to get written at this point. I think the allusion to what happened was fun, and leaving it to headcanon is totally fine, given where we're at and what we've been through so far. I can't say that there's 100% chance I never will, but
I was gonna say never say never. Sometimes I just get the random urge just to write.
Bree's more likely to do it than
I am more likely. If there's Odyssey stuff, I'm more likely to do it, for sure.
I'd mostly do it.
Yeah.
Next ask. Question for both of you. What were the first fandoms you wrote for?
Buffy and Angel, Buffy Vampires. That's the one I first really seriously wrote for.
Okay. But wrote for or posted online?
Ooh, that's a good question.
For fandom is really...
No, it was Buffy. But I remember I had, if we're talking about physically writing stuff down, I had a lot of headcanon stuff that I put together for a lot of stuff, but actually sat down and wrote something was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Buffy and Angel.
I'm older. So the first stories I can remember writing were by hand in my little Lisa Frank notebook up in the clubhouse in the backyard. It was about 7 or 8, and it was Star Trek: The Next Generation. Actually, it was early in season 1 because it was about Tasha Yar. She was my favorite, and then she died, and I was traumatized for many years. Knowing what I know now, good on you, Denise Crosby, for getting out. But anyhow, I wrote a lot of those very self-insert Mary Sue's, which I'm a big fan of as part of the writing process. I think they're incredibly important.
I have so many things. I have so much original stuff that I wrote when I was super young. I'm so glad I kept it.
It's terrible.
Everything.
And it's
amazing to look back and see, because you can see kind of the foundations of where you're going. I can, for sure.
So the first thing I posted online was for Babylon 5 because I'm a big old nerd. Always have been, sci-fi nerd. And um, I remember this was back in 94-ish, I think. Maybe it was on a little bit later than that. But it was very early. The internet was still relatively small. And I remember like literally doing dial up and sending it off to an email list group because that's all there was back
Yep.
then.
When
And I'm terrified, like heart beating out of my chest until somebody replied. And I was very, very, very lucky to have come into the community when I did because it was immediately recognized by everyone in that group that I was very young and that I really tried, even if it wasn't very good. And I immediately had 2 or 3 much older fanfic authors who were very welcoming and said, I'd like to mentor you.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And that happened back then. I mean, you're looking at, because you only had 60 people
That actually,
who wrote fanfic for the entire fandom. You wanted to nurture that. That's all there was.
God, I started in '99 because I remember that's when I first started watching Buffy. I didn't post anything, I want to say, until 2000, 2001.
I was posting Buffy then too.
So, and I never had any mentor. I remember I started posting under another name, which I think I can still find online.
I'll die if we read each other's work.
I would die because I still have my old Buffy stuff up on the website.
I do too.
If looking back, it's so bad.
I know. But it doesn't matter.
But it's amazing, and you can see everything. I remember when I first started actually writing alternate universe stuff is when I really started taking off.
Okay,
We're working there.
I know. Why don't you go get ready for bed? Or go have pie. Yeah. Give us 20 minutes, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I have one slice of the chili and one slice of the
Ask your daddy. Incidentally, that first fanfic I posted online, which was called What Might Have Been, was about the time traveling original character children of the main characters. So I have a theme.
That works.
And like now, I went so far as to map out family trees and floor plans of houses.
And doesn't that just tell you everything about how different we are? As far as looking towards the future like that. Because all of mine was like, I mean, I look back on some of the stuff, I'm like, oh my God, I can see 4 walls in so much of what I was doing. I was just very young and didn't know
there's a lot. Well, there was that too.
There's a lot of, I'm much more about the moment and getting into like diving into deep emotional stuff in the second. And then
also,
not thinking ahead.
I did multi-generational stuff too. And I also like really shipped Ivanova and Garibaldi and had no clue she was a lesbian because I didn't know.
Yeah.
I know now. Whoops. I missed that. I was a very sheltered child.
I do think Buffy and Angel were like my OTP foundation for all the Felicity.
That was a big stepping stone for me too. Also Roswell. I did a fair bit with Roswell. A little bit with X-Files. A little bit.
It takes so much for me to get into a fandom, much less actually write for them. I don't think a Punisher a little bit, but it wasn't. I think that's more recent. Oh, Supernatural, but that was Buffy and Supernatural. I mixed the two.
Yeah, I did a fair bit with Battlestar Galactica in the fandom, mostly hosting fandom awards. I did some writing too, but not. Yeah,
I did a ton of fan art. I don't know if you can call it fan art, but I took like a 6-year break from writing and I filled in my creative issue stuff with fan art, Photoshop. It was so much fun.
But the first one I really had notoriety, I guess, as a writer was for my corner of Harry Potter at the time. I wrote some Remus Tonks stuff that was the first time I really had a strong reaction from a big number of people. And that is unfinished.
It's so weird because I remember my friend Zoe, I've mentioned her like a few times. She did her own publishing thing, self-publishing. But we did a lot of co-writing at the time too.
Husband's crawling, trying to hide from the camera.
You can't hide from it. It's almost creepier, Dan. A little
It's
bit.
way
You're
creepy.
working. I don't want to interrupt you.
You just see this grin in the background.
We should drink some Oliver. That's our wine. It was the Oliver, which we only got because it was named Oliver.
Can't see
You
it.
can't see it.
Wait, a little bit. No, you can't see it. Sorry, it's named Oliver. It's beautiful.
Let's try it.
I'm a little afraid to try it.
It's from like Indiana. Okay, this stuff's good. Let's try.
Well, I don't want to waste it. First thing I tasted was blueberry. Here, let me try your glass. I'm not gonna waste mine.
Dan, you want some wine?
Based on your laughter, I don't want to put any
You should-
Oliver in my mouth.
I really wonder if the camera set up. I hope the microphone did.
Dark cherry aroma.
No, really, come
I
here.
taste no berries. This just tastes.
If
like
you
I'm
want
trying
some,
to
we're
drink
getting
butter.
rid of it. I'm gonna literally just pour it down the drain.
Oh, that's not bad.
Good. Yep, there it is. Yeah, we're getting rid of this one. We're gonna try something else.
I like myself too much for the $10 or whatever I spent on that.
Oh, Oliver. It tastes really bad.
Where Monsters Lie was my first big Harry Potter one.
The one I got the most feedback on was Only Time for Buffy and Angel. But there were other things. I was
I
very
was a
much
kid and Where
experiencing
Monsters
a
Lie
lot.
too.
A lot of things.
Ew.
We do.
But the kid wasn't actually present because the kid was kidnapped for most of it.
At least elegant.
He was, yeah.
Part of it.
Anyhow,
Say that's Ellie. He took Ellie out. So, ooh, story.
it's, yeah. Are you and Brave planning on writing anything together other than the Book Queen story?
Well, besides the original stuff,
So the original stuff is going to be more really partnership based.
that's more
Like
like what
the original
Vicon was.
Yeah. We talked about this earlier today, and she is interested in co-writing the other sequels, but because of time constraints and the way we want to pump them out, we felt like her having a job and full-time writing 2 different novels at once was really too much.
I would hinder the process more than help it.
We'll see how it goes. Right now, the plan is I'm drafting Providence, and she's doing second
Now,
verse edits.
That being
basically.
said, I did remove myself a lot from the original Tempest draft for my own reasons at the time.
Yeah.
I will be much more involved this time just because I'm much more present
Yeah.
mentally. So
And it's so, I mean, it's more like with Tempest, but also with greater involvement.
yeah. But no, she's drafting. I'll be doing the editing. If you want to call it that.
It's more than editing. I mean, it's a rewrite. It's really, there are huge sections of Tempest that you just completely.
Well, I just flesh stuff out. I mean,
We after
bring
you
our
finish
own-
Tempest about any major things she's changed.
we definitely each have our own strengths that we bring to it.
That's true.
That's so true. We really
The
do.
fight scenes are a billion times better when she's done with them. The sex scenes are better when she's done with them.
It's like fun.
I
mean,
like
it's just
dialogue
great.
that makes you cry. Those
And I
are our
like-
strengths.
Yes, it's good. We're good. We're good.
So, I mean, to what degree are we co-writing them all is really the question.
I would say we'll definitely be tackling Book Queen together. Just
Fully. Because that's
if-
as much her baby as anything else.
I mean, I'm very excited about that one.
You have been for years.
It's gonna be good. Probably why
I'm
we're the most
thinking-
quiet about it too.
I think at this point, well, also with the furthest to go to get to it.
Yeah.
I think with only writing on weekends and in breaks in between writing original work, because there should be some, it will probably take me about 6 months to finish Providence. I'm hoping to have it done by the end of the year. The next story, and also to have at least 1, if not 1.5 original novels done, maybe 2. The next story, which doesn't have a name yet, the ensemble one, which is heavily Ellie, will probably be longer and less of a romance novel format.
Yes, completely agreed.
Yeah. It'll take
It's
longer
still
than 6 months to
there.
write. Yeah, there's still definitely a love story involved. There are multiple.
I mean, there's a reason why Amelia and Will are like the romance novel as couple.
Mhm.
It really is. So we're really focusing on the characters, on the kids, in a sense.
Yeah.
And
And you-
Ellie's gonna have a story.
Yes, it's true.
What's the story?
It's not the story you're expecting. Um,
But it does absolutely have all those elements too. Which is why we
Right.
want to keep. That's a reason we want to keep a lot of stuff in the fan fiction, not necessarily taking it
'Cause
out
it
and
defies
translating
genre.
it to or like original stuff.
Yeah.
It really does. It would be complicated because, especially like in Book Queen, that's not.
how do you term these, and how would they be linked together as a series
You
in a
can't keep them
publishable
in a
work?
series because they're all different genres in their own
Mhm.
way. So it just doesn't. It wouldn't translate very well.
Yeah.
Not
Um,
without breaking a lot of it over.
And also, even when you're writing in other genres, like we arguably would have with Tempest or with the third one, there's graphic sex scenes, and most people don't like that in their other genre stories. I don't understand it
Crazy?
either.
Like, are you kidding me?
I feel like everybody needs more graphic sex in their lives.
Everybody does.
Everybody who's interested in it.
No, yeah.
Everybody.
I understand if it's, but we all need it.
Yeah,
That's the reason why there's so much of it.
there should be more. I feel like it should be a routine part of all storytelling.
It should. And when it's actually,
Or at
if
least
I'm
most.
reading anything like a mystery or something, any fiction that's not strictly romance and it comes up, I do a fist bump. Yes. Especially when it's graphic. Oh my God, this got in here and it's not a romance novel. Yes. It gives me hope for the future. Because anything that, if there's any romance, I've noticed there's been some amazing books that are called romance that are actually sci-fi or supernatural. It's such a small part, but because they focus on that, it becomes a romance novel.
Yeah,
And it's frustrating.
yeah. People don't know how to categorize.
They really don't.
But my point with that was, is it really frozen? There we go. My point was with that was, that's probably going to take even longer to write.
Wait,
I
wait,
think the third story. I think we're looking
oh God, yeah.
8 months minimum.
Well, if we're gonna stick to this format, for
Yeah,
drafting,
we have to see how the format works first, really. We also have to find wine that's drinkable.
Oh God,
is
this wine's
so
bad.
bad.
Like it's bad. I'm glad you.
Imagine
What
Ellen's face.
Oh, she would die.
So mad at this
Like, we
wine. She's
have
like,
such
this is not
limited-
wine.
That rosé was delicious, considering how much it was. It's bad. And you would throw.
Win some of
She
yours.
would throw this bottle.
I don't know that she poured down the sink.
Yeah,
Did she
that's her
pour it?
version of throwing. Oh, maybe. Depending on how much she's
I doubt she's watching this for an hour, but I hope she is. Um,
I do. I think all my wine tastes are very low. Like I have a low threshold compared to him. You.
I've gotten a lot better about my snobbery. Snobbery?
That's 'cause you're in
Snobbishness?
Ohio.
That's true.
Wait
I
till
am
I
in
go
Ohio.
home.
Once I have my parents' wine on hand,
Yeah, it's gonna.
that's going to be different. If you rewrite it as a royalty AU, how would Penny figure in?
Oh, everybody has a place.
Yeah. So a couple
Everybody.
things with that. It's not necessarily a rewrite. It sort of is. I mean, it depends on what you mean by
It's
that.
the relationships that are really the thing that are translating over.
Right.
And those fit into any universe in the right hands.
Yes.
They really do. So she has a place for sure. And it's actually the same sequence too.
I think so.
I think
We
for the
haven't
most
gotten
part-
as much into that, right? My initial thought was that she's like the daughter of the scribe or something for the court, but we've changed a bit
Yeah.
since then, a lot since then, as far as everything. Really, I mean, it went from really very episodic, almost fluffy with fun angst kind of stuff to holy crap, this is really serious and heavy.
Very heavy, like world encompassing. It got
Yeah.
intense.
Um,
But no, everybody has a role. And it's, I mean, can be similar to what they're doing now in the Pyconverse.
She's still gonna wind up being the person meant for Nate. I mean,
Oh yeah,
definitely.
they'll find their way to each other for sure.
Yeah. And they will still have the same nature to their relationship.
Everybody, their circumstances can be translated to different verses.
Yeah,
I don't want to say
definitely.
anything, but they really can. And actually, Juvenile is really good too.
I don't
In their
have
loyalty.
oh yes, they're fantastic. I don't have an answer to the next ask. Do Alex, Amelia, and Penny have middle names, and what are they? I haven't had canon that. Amelia's name is a name squish of her parents, Amos and Leah. I don't think. I mean, maybe she has a middle name. Penny might. I mean,
That might come up in their sequel.
I would guess if she had a middle name, it's going to be something short, like Anne, Penelope Anne Bookwalter. That sounds like a name. Penelope Jane.
Well, it's definitely
Something
a
short
name.
and feminine. You know what I'm saying.
I can see that coming up with
Alex probably
Her
has
name.
several. At least, well, I don't know culturally if that's likely. I know that growing up in South Florida, most people I knew had several middle names or several last names or both. I don't know how that translates over to Mexican American culture
I have
tradition.
No idea.
I know it's common in Cuban, but that's where I grew up. So I'd have to check it out. And I haven't, and it's not really where I've devoted my head to.
Unless the story takes us anywhere like that. But I am interested in names.
Yeah, unless maybe it's Silvio.
For Alex?
Yeah. Maybe Silvio. I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe.
that's actually a good one.
Maybe. It's kind of cute. And Sylvia's middle name is Megan, just like Jules, after Felicity.
Mhm.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 more,
Oh, we also want to talk about some movies.
and they're all multi-part.
Oh, we're gonna talk
We will, but this is already at like an hour, so I think we're gonna have to call it and do another one tomorrow, next day, day after. I don't know. Definitely after we're posting 2 things tomorrow, so you get the next chapter of Tempest, and you're gonna get the Smutty Julix one that evening, probably. So maybe we wait till at least Tuesday to answer more because we can have a lot more questions. I think.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff coming up. Yeah. Some of them are, yeah. But we're also getting, we're getting deep into Tempest at this point. There's only a few chapters left. I probably need to finish that last one. What, 4 chapters?
Yeah, no, 4 chapters. Well,
I need to finish that epilogue.
yeah, I'll take 4.
3 in the epilogue, really. Oh no, I'm sorry, 4 in the epilogue.
Oh, just too much.
Yeah.
Too much. Yeah.
I think
Wait, what?
I think there's going to be strong reactions to every chapter from here on out. There's going to be a lot
There's
to be said.
huge stuff that happens.
And they're
There's a
long.
lot to come in, like, to wrap up, but also
Setup.
set up too. Yeah.
There's payoff and there's setup for sure. You'll see that certainly in the epilogue.
There's some
There just been another ask.
boob shit.
Sorry. That's
Oh my god, that's a good question.
such a good
I don't think I
question.
can answer it.
I can.
I can't. I'm not about giving
I don't know that I
anybody.
should say
You
it.
shouldn't say it. I don't.
I want to say it.
Don't say it.
Maybe I should.
It's a great question.
Whoever sent that
Hey, high five them.
a little bit ago,
High five them.
should we answer that right now? We have like 30 seconds.
No.
Should we? No. Let's go.
Okay.
It's going to lead to more questions, so we're Which of the Queen kids do you think is psychologically the unhealthiest as an adult? And the answer, unquestionably, is Ellie.
Absolutely. 100% Ellie.
Have a nice day.
Thanks, guys.